Well, good morning. It's Stacey Ashley here. And as we're coming up to the new year, when everyone's making new resolutions and setting themselves up for success, I thought I would just share some interesting info that I discovered this morning about job seeking, and also share with you a little process to help you really discover what's important to you in terms of your work and in your next role. So when you're making decisions and choices about, do I move jobs or not move jobs? Do I stay? What do I need in terms of my work and my career? This is a really simple process to help you with that. And I just thought it was timely. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. So welcome if you're live. Super excited to be able to share this with you. And if you've got a pen and paper, that would be really useful right now. And of course, if you're live, share with me, are you on holidays yet for Christmas, or are you still just working up to the death knock of Christmas Eve, and or are you on holidays already? So I'm just going to turn this banner off, give us some more space. There we go. Hide that one. I can see there's somebody there. Nimesh, good to see you here. So as I said, what I want to do today is I read a really interesting piece of research, and it's not 2020, but it's in recent years. So historically, apparently, there's a real trend that, of course, in the new year, people start looking around for, potential new opportunities. We've just gone through the Christmas period and the New Year period, and it creates a time and space for people to reflect, and often that reflection includes their job. And of course, there's the whole trend of New Year's resolutions and, rejuvenation and a fresh start. And so it's perfectly natural that your job and your career, where we spend so much of our time, is part of that process. So historically, what the research shows is that the first Wednesday after New Year has more searches on job sites than any other time of the year. So that sort of shows the state of mind that most people have, is they're looking for opportunity. Now, I don't know if it will be the same in 2021, because obviously we've had a unique year in 2020, but I still feel like people are seeking opportunity, and so they will be reconsidering the relevance and the importance and the impact of their role and how it fits with the rest of their life. And so today what I want to do is just to share with you an idea, a little process, a thinking process that will help you to figure out for yourself, if you're looking at your career, if it's something that's important for you to reevaluate, not because you're necessarily going to make a move, but just because it's important to reevaluate, then this is a really good little thinking process to help you to do that. And so, as I said, if you've got a pen and paper, if you've got some Post-it notes, that would be even better, but you can go away and do this exercise after. I'm just going to really show you a simple process, and then you can look at it for yourself. So welcome. I can see a few more people. Elizabeth, working till the end. Okay. So as I said, what I want to know is, or what I want to hear is, are you working? But also for you, is this just thinking about your role, your job, where it fits in your life, how satisfied you are with it, what else you could be doing within your current role, or a new role in your same organization, or if you decided that maybe you need a new organization, is that something that's important to you? So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And I'm just going to check my feed while you're popping that in. As you know, for LinkedIn, there's a little bit of a delay. So just checking there. All right. So I'm just going to share my iPad to make sure. There we go. Just popping that up. And of course it's disappeared. So let me just see if I can, the wonders of technology. I'm just going to see if I can get that up again so that we can do this exercise. And so in the meantime, while I'm getting that organized, what would be really great is to start thinking for yourself, when you think about your career, when you think about your work, what is important to you? What do you really value? What makes the difference for you? I'm just popping this up. Hopefully it'll be there in a second. There we go. Okay, great. So let me just move that screen out the way and let's get this screen sharing started. All right, so there's my screen. Now, what I've done is I've drawn a couple of pretend Post-it notes because you would normally do this exercise using Post-it notes because they're really easy to move around. And it's a really simple process. You just need some time and space for yourself to really reflect on that question that I just asked. You know, what is important to you? And I can see a couple of comments. So Nimesh says, how to get more work done in limited time and the responsibilities that go with that. Joanna, the people I work with and for, super, super important, especially after the year we've had. That connection to those people around you is so vital. Elizabeth says the company I would change to work to would be important. Yep. And the hotel industry is super critical time, absolutely, and lots of change going on as they refocus and, you know, look at the opportunities there. So thank you for sharing. All right, so what I want you to do is, and I'm going to work through this exercise fairly quickly so you can take more time, you know, over Christmas, in the new year, if this is something that works for you, is to capture those ideas. What's important to me about my work? You might change that question slightly. So it might be, what's important to me about my career, or what's important to me about my organisation. So just create the context that, you know, really resonates for you around your work and career. Elizabeth, again, what's important to me is aligning my decisions to core values. Again, super, super important to have that congruence there. Nimesh, mitigating changes. Okay. So what I want you to do is, when you think about those things, is just to start capturing them on a Post-it note. And so I'm just going to put a couple of examples on my own Post-it notes here. I'll just pop a couple more Post-it notes that I prepared earlier. Okay, so what would be, so maybe colleagues might be really important to me. My boss, who I work with, might be really important. Congruence with values. I'm just going to pinch Elizabeth there. And so you just brainstorm these things that, oops, can't spell today. You just capture those things that are important. Now, you might find that you've got sort of 6 or 7 values. You might have 12 or 14. You know what's important to you. Maybe it's about interesting work. Maybe, get a couple more of these here. Maybe it's about, what's most important to me might be about learning or growing. It may be about promotion opportunity. You know, there's all sorts of things. And I think what's important here is that everybody is different. You know, when you think about what's important to you, everybody is different. And that's great, you know, because we're all motivated by different things. We have different things to contribute. So I think, you know, that is really key. So, you know, if we want to have robust organizations, we need to have that diversity of thought and being. So thinking about that, you know, you would, when you do this, obviously make sure that you've got the time and the space to do this exercise, you know, and it might be after you've chilled out for a while, you know, it might be in the new year, it might be between Christmas and New Year, but it could be some other point in the year. That's totally fine. But make sure it's not when you're going to get interrupted. It's not when you're under pressure to do something else. You know, this is just a brainstorming, free-flowing exercise. Put yourself into a space where you know you do really good thinking. So that might be outside. It might be, you know, somewhere where you feel really comfortable and just be yourself. Those are important things to try and really flesh this out. So then you just do your brainstorming. And you might leave it and then you might come back later and do some more brainstorming. That's totally fine. So that's step 1, is to answer that question, what is most important to me about, you know, work, career, organisation, and so on. So we do that first. The next thing is then we need to figure out, okay, so of all of these things, which have the highest priority for me, which are in fact the most important? What's the most important? What's the next most important? What's the next most important? And the reason that we do that, or that I want you to think about that, is because when you have choices to make and decisions to make, having that priority of importance helps you in that decision-making process. If everything has the same value, then how do I choose between option A and option B? If they have different priorities, different levels of importance, then that's going to help me to actually define whether option A suits me better and supports my values more, or whether option B does. And so when we're choosing things like, do I work for this organization or this organization, that becomes very important. Or this type of role or that type of role, it becomes very important. Do I take a promotion but I have to relocate to another, city or something like that, although that's a little bit hard these days, is that information can be very informative, and give you insight into what really matters. So we actually prioritize. So the question that we ask ourselves when we're trying to prioritize our values is, what's important to us, because that's what values are, what's important to us. When we're prioritizing that, we just simply ask the question, is this more important than that? So it might be, is learning more important than promotion opportunity? And I might say, yes, it is. So I go, okay, learning looks like, I didn't take everything. So let me just see if I can do this. There we go. So learning looks like it's reasonably important. Then I'd ask the question, is learning more important than colleagues? And I might go, well, actually, no, learning isn't more important than colleagues. Colleagues, the people I work with, are actually a really vital part. So then I would say, okay, so it looks like colleagues is actually more important. So then I would just keep repeating this process. Are colleagues more important than promotion opportunity? Yes. Are colleagues more important than my boss? Another big question. And so I have to make these decisions about which is actually more important to me. And so I might go, you know what? No, my boss is more important because my boss is the person I'm most likely to learn from, which is also kind of important. So then I, take very carefully my boss and I put them. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to create, an order of importance, knowing that all of these things are important, but I want to get them into a cascade so that I can know these are the most important, these are the next important, these, would be nice to have, but are not essential. And so I just go through, again, that thinking process, and again, you need some time to reflect and kind of consider for you. And it doesn't matter what order you come up with. It's your order about what matters to you. And it's going to be different from everybody else. Okay. And this is key. Own it. This is important to you. And when we honor the things that are important to us, we give ourselves the opportunity to be kind of working in a space that's going to bring out our best. We're going to make choices that really work for us. And that is very powerful. So when you're thinking about your career, your job now, you could use this on your job now, for example, and go, hey, let me think about what's important to me. And now when I overlay that on my existing role in my existing company, which of those things are being honoured and met and which are not? And so the things that are not, what can I do about that? How can I change that so it works better for me? And therefore I'm able to make an even better contribution because I'm in my zone, because the things that matter to me, that are important to me, are being honoured. So you would end up with I'm just going to quickly put these into sort of an order. Okay, and so we start to get, this sequence of this is more important than this, which is more important than this, and so on. And that's how, there we go. If I make this a bit smaller, then you'll get the idea. Okay, so let's just see if I can make that a little bigger. All right, now you may well have more values and more things that matter. This is just, for sample purposes, but you can see in this process. So if I was now making a decision about different opportunities, or I was reevaluating my current role, then I can say, okay, so in terms of my boss, who I've said is really important to me, how is that my relationship with my boss working at the moment? What could I do to improve it, because it's important to me? What about for my colleagues? Am I supporting them enough? Am I getting enough support from them? What can I do about that? Congruence with my values. How am I living my values? And so on. So I can see a question that's popped up from Elizabeth. Okay, so really good question about how do I determine the culture of an organisation during the interview process. So I'm not a career expert, but some of the things that I would be thinking about, obviously, are follow the company, see what they're doing. So before you even go near an interview, think about what information can you gather. Who do you know that knows someone that's worked there? Is there congruence between what they say is their brand and how it actually shows up in terms of customer experiences, social contribution, whatever it may be. So look for all of that. When you get to the interview, though, ask the questions about the things that matter to you about the culture. So if they say that they have a culture of community contribution, for example, well, ask them, how do they do that? How do they live that? How does it show up? And what happens if people don't honour that particular aspect of the culture? Because one of the things that I find in lots of organisations is around culture is they say a whole lot of stuff. An organisation says a whole lot of stuff. It's actually in the being and doing that we see, are they actually, honouring that? And so part of the being and doing is that if people don't do what's acceptable, if they sort of go against the culture, it's how do we handle that? That's a really big part of creating the culture that you want to move forward with, is to not accept the things that don't support it, and how you deal with that is key. So I hope that helps, Elizabeth. Okay, so when you're thinking about, if you're going to think about your role at some point over the holiday break, or at some point, any point during the year, because you can do this exercise. And in fact, when I work with my clients, I tell them that, or I suggest to them that just checking in with these things a couple of times a year is a really important thing to do, just to make sure that you're actually honouring your values. Because when we work outside our values, it's very uncomfortable and it takes a lot of energy, and it's simply not good for us. We need to honour what's important to us, so that we can get, if I look at Maslow's hierarchy, so we can start towards that meaning making in terms of our life. If we're not living our values, then it's very hard to get meaning from your life. So really think about, at some point, what's important to you about your job, what's important to you about your career. And once you've done that, then look at it in the context of your current role. So it's not about necessarily changing roles. It's about looking at it in your current role and looking at what are the opportunities there for you. And from there, of course, you can make decisions and choices that are, that you have more information to work with, and hopefully you get a more valid decision that works, that works for you, and it works, to support you and what's important to you. It also means that we don't just leap without looking into a new role, that we can actually ask the questions to confirm that the things that are important to us will be met. to the level we need them to be met in a new role, in a new organisation, that sort of thing. So I'd really encourage you to take a moment or a few moments and do that exercise. And I would love to hear from you how you went, what worked for you. And of course, if you're watching the recording, then do the exercise and pop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how you went with it. What else did I have to tell you? Oh, super exciting news. I'm running a a live across all the platforms, summer series of a series of episodes of things that are about setting you up for success as we go into 2021, which is going to be a year of amazing opportunity, but of course, still filled with a lot of challenge. We're really going into the marathon of transformation and change in 2021, and we need to, as leaders, be ready to lead it. So I've got some really good ideas coming up for you. So watch out for those. The episodes are going to be on Wednesday morning and Sunday afternoon over the summer period, summer for Australia, that is. So I look forward to having you jump on the sessions then and hearing your comments and thoughts. Otherwise, have a great last few days before the holidays, and look forward to seeing you again soon.